Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And on this one, I need confirmation of whether I'm buying Alexander Isak or not. I'm probably not going to get it because we're pre-recording on Tuesday night, and Alexander Isak plays in 25 minutes for Sweden against Azerbaijan. Let me firstly introduce you to our Newcastle United correspondent. It's Simon Bibby. How you, Si?
Very well, James. Thanks.
Well, what's the matter, mate? Why are you so sad?
I'm still ill. I just told you. I was on a month ago and I was ill. I'm still ill. This fucking country just full of
We
bugs everywhere.
it could be worse. You could be a West Ham United fan. Let me introduce you to our West Ham correspondent. Is Chris Stone. Hello, Chris.
Hi, mate.
What's
I'm
wrong with you?
well, I'm feeling a bit rough, but rough at my team.
Right, well, I'm gonna power us on. Si, Newcastle. This victory against Arsenal seems to change the mood. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think last time I was on, I said I was looking for some signs of like progress and change, and yeah, I think it gave the everyone in the club a big boost. I didn't find it that surprising, to be honest. It's the sort of games that Eddie Howe tends to do quite well in, where he can, almost kind of get away with more of a defensive mindset and drop the back line back a bit, and then game plan for certain players. He's kind of proven it in the last 3 seasons he's been with us that he knows how to play against a lot of these kind of big boys. But yeah, from a club perspective, I think I actually pat myself on the back, called the kind of series of results that we would probably lose to Chelsea in the league, come back and beat him in the cup, and then like potentially could go on a bit of a run. And yeah, it seems like that's the case now.
And then followed up on the Arsenal victory by winning at Forest, which many have struggled to obviously beat. That was only their second defeat this season, taking you back up to eighth. It's only a point off third, put you very much back in contention for challenging for the Champions League place. I guess all pressure is off now, whereas it felt a bit, even when you was having good results at the start of the season, the vibe didn't feel right. Now the vibe feels better again.
Yeah, yeah, I think you can say that for quite a lot of clubs. Like one result here or there different, and teams that are around 12th or 13th could be, up in the European spot. So I think all it takes is being consistent and potentially getting a result when people don't expect you to, and the table looks completely different. So yeah, I've always been confident that if we could get our best players back going into this kind of stretch where, we haven't had those kind of midweek European games in our legs. Everyone's a bit more on an even playing field now that they're going to be playing 2 games a week in the league. But I feel like the club's in a good place. We've quite a lot of our players were off on international duty, but the other ones were off in Saudi Arabia getting some sunshine, avoiding all the snow and everything else that we've had back in the UK. God knows what it's been like up in Newcastle. I haven't even
Would
seen,
would a
but
game go
I
ahead on
imagine.
Monday, Si?
Yeah, it'll go ahead. As long as it's usually like ice around the stadium's the worst thing, but they're pretty used to it. I'd say like it's quite rare that games get called off at St James's Park, so I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, no, the temperature's going to massively improve come Saturday anyway. Chris Sice said that pretty much if you're 12th or 13th, cut the wins and you can fly up the table. Problem is you're one below that, you're 14th, but you're only 7 points off third. So how bad is it, mate?
Um, Pretty bad, pretty shit. Really, it's just not happening at the moment. I don't know. There's so much going on. Obviously, the manager thing is one aspect, but some of the signings, I think it's mainly our midfield. Our centre midfield is just they haven't got any legs. We've just got no one in there which can cover any grounds, and teams just seem to walk through us. And that's the problem. I don't even think it's like before, like in previous seasons. It's been purely back four errors. I don't think it's that. Aviola's not. He's had a few mistakes. He's obviously come out, but Kudos getting sent off that didn't help. But I don't know. Kudos and Paqueta, they just don't seem to be really the same sort of players. Kudos has been here and there, but not. But Paqueta's just not the same player he was. Um, first year really. Um, he's just not putting in the contribution. There just seems to be a few people that just feel like they're being carried, and obviously Lopetegui's under pressure. That doesn't help.
Well, if players are underperforming, they don't look like they're putting a shift in. Ultimately, that comes back towards the manager. Suja's been quite vocal in saying, nah, wasting time, change here. What's your stance?
Um, it's a tricky one. I mean, firstly, I don't know who we'd bring in. I know when we've talked about managers before, it's the board and who would they appoint? Would they're not going to appoint someone that's dynamic and going to get. I don't. I guess the wild card factor is Steidon because you don't know how much influence he has. Whether you get the impression that Lopetegui wasn't his first choice, and obviously he's got quite an influence. But then you have to kind of question the board when they get an appointment that's so badly wrong, or it's seemingly so badly wrong after 10 games. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's unfortunate because we didn't. Obviously, Fulco got injured, so we haven't really got a forward. I know Antonio's there, but he just hasn't got. He hasn't got that presence he had before. He doesn't win challenges like he did. He obviously hasn't got the same level of pace that he's got. He's 34, so we've got nothing there. It's just, I mean, there was some bright sparks, but they're few and far between, and you're just clutching at straws to find a positive in so much negativity. I think he feels like a dead man walking, Lopetegui, only because everyone is so against him. But then results change, but you can't see that. You can't see where that's going to happen. I mean, when you're going to games, I don't know. I mean, Newcastle, I don't fancy our chances against them, but even playing sort of mid-table teams or teams just above you, like Fulham and Bournemouth, I wouldn't be confident going into those sort of games where you should be confident getting a result. No such thing as guaranteeing it, but there's nothing there to really get behind or cling on to at the moment, and that's worrying.
I think dead man walking stands out, Chris. So, I mean, in your opinion, where does this end for Lopetegui? Can you envisage a situation where at the end of the football season he's still your manager?
It's possible. I mean, I don't honestly see the board getting rid of him before Christmas, unless I would probably say, I mean, Newcastle away, Arsenal at home. I guess the Arsenal performance will be a factor. The result is somewhat irrelevant. But if we get tanked like we did against Chelsea in that manner, then really,
But I'm even thinking about Monday night, Chris. It's on the
yeah,
telly. Everyone's going to watch it. It's the end of the game week. If Newcastle to beat you 4-0 or something, we're
yeah,
possibly in a scenario where that happens next week, isn't it?
yeah, it's possible. But if you're on the end of a really bad performance and a really heavy result, then that is possible. But there doesn't seem to. There's not a lot of noise really coming about a replacement and who that's going to be. Normally, you get a few names mentioned, don't you? But there's not much out there about that.
Well, I
So
suppose having just appointed someone, the club isn't preparing to look again, really.
no,
They want
I
this to
don't.
work, understandably.
Yeah, I mean the board are known for kind of backing their managers, aren't they? I know obviously David Gold's not there, but generally they have done. And it's also a bit of a reflection on them if they're getting rid of someone after sort of 12 games or so. They've made a mistake, haven't they? So do they? How long do they give it? I mean, if you, I mean, I think from game week 14, I think is when we have a few seemingly easier results. I think it's Leicester away. You got Wolves at home, and then you've got Ipswich. Not Ipswich. You've got Southampton at the tail end of that sort of 5-week
It's a
period.
nice 5 game stretch, yeah. So Leicester
But
away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Southampton away. But I mean, Bournemouth and Brighton in the middle of that,
that's not
wouldn't
easy,
particularly
no.
fancy you against either of them. So
But if we come out with say 4 points out of that, which isn't out of the realms of possibility, then that could be a bit late by that point.
well, yeah, I mean, straight after the run, by the way, you play Liverpool and Manchester City straight afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a few players there which I think are probably thinking that they want to move on. Paqueta, we don't know what's happening with him because of obviously the betting stuff. Kudos, I feel like he now wants to be at a bigger club.
I get that. I have to say that obviously that he got sent off against my team, but I thought he played really well
Yeah,
individually, actually.
he was playing well. Even to the point of sort of thinking that he's one of those players which is a streaky player. He goes on a run. So that was his second goal in 2 games. That was even more disappointing. But it's annoying when you lose a player for something which is really kind of stupidity at that level for what they're paid, and they should be able to kind of handle themselves in a professional manner. That's that kind of Sunday league stuff, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, he let himself down. West Ham are clearly a bit fragile at the moment. I'm not sure I can think of many worse places to go than St James's Park under that status. That'd be fair.
Yeah, and after a international break, Eddie Howe's got a good record of like resetting the team and focusing the team on these little mini runs. I think they'll be well up for the games. I'm fairly confident, pretty confident, and we seem to have had the better of West Ham the last couple of seasons as well. So yeah, I'd say it's it could quickly spiral out of control a bit. And if the manager's already like potentially on the chopping block, it is the sort of fixture where if players decide that this isn't working and they want to pack it in, there's nowhere to hide at St James's Park, and it could turn into something a bit nasty for you.
I mean, I don't want this to age badly because I'm scared. I'm speaking before Isak's playing for Sweden, but that's already the kind of decision made up. I can't see how I don't go and buy him this way, and he's going to be part of a -4 to make it happen. Can you give me any reason, Si, not to buy Alexander Isak this week?
I mean, I was hoping you could give me a reason. I think it just depends like what your front line is and like your money situation. So I'm in the position where I've got Watkins, I've got Haaland, and I've got Cunha. So it's kind of like if I do make the Isak move, do I take Watkins out? I know you're quite dubious about him playing all of the games coming up, but so I don't know. He's
It's a
got
good
Palace at
fixture
home.
this week, though. Palace at home, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got Haaland who's playing your lot, and that's I keep seeing everyone transferring him out, and that seems to be like quite a positive thing, really.
That's
Like
an
less fixture.
inevitable conclusion, mate.
Exactly. So like, where would I make that move? And then if I took Haaland out, you want to. I've got two free transfers. You want to spend the cash. I always earmarked that Palmer was going to come in this week. I assume he's going to be fit.
He's been
Like,
training at the time of recording. He's definitely been training.
fine. And then I've got the Trent situation as well, and like looking to downgrade him. And I know Lewis is popular, and we'll probably talk about him. But I'm in a similar boat to be honest. If I bring him in, it's like probably a -4, or I hang on to Trent. And then you think like this fixture, is he more likely to score 4+ if I'm taking a hit than Watkins or Haaland? I don't know. It's a tricky one, and I've already let the price rise go. I think he's maybe gone up twice already this international break. So yeah, he's banging form. Looks like whatever his toe injury is, he's either playing through it or it's not bothering him anymore. So it's kind of like I've always said, and I tend to like hop on and hop off him 3 or 4 times a season anyway. It's what it's been like, Yeah, temptation is definitely strong to get him in this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that very difficult to ignore. And I could have got him in for free. I had the exact money to go Solanke to Isak, but wasn't gonna do it until we'd got through these two games for
Nah,
Sweden. But as
that's
long
the
as
right
he
call.
he does get through this and he returns in good state, the game's not till Monday, so there's plenty of time to rest up before the game. He has looked reinvigorated, I think, pretty much from the Chelsea league game onwards. Could have easily got two at Stamford. He probably should have got two at Stamford Bridge, actually. No, I'd said in pre-season, ironically, that I thought Isak and Watkins were the two most underpriced players, and I'm not sure that that opinion's particularly changed. And interestingly, I think we all forget Isak scored more than Watkins last year. I think for us in the fantasy world, it feels like Watkins must have scored more because he got so many assists. Now Isak 21 goals last season from 27 starts.
Yeah, man. He's
Yes,
he's more than
please.
capable yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you saw the first game he played in Sweden. He was playing with was it Gronkeres,
Oh,
the
Gyökeres
Sporting
up front.
Gyökeres, that's it. But he's playing in the front two and he was playing off him and he was like, oh God, it was just absolutely unbelievable. He doesn't play that position for Newcastle, but I do think the switch in the last couple of games of putting Joelinton back in the front three has kind of helped the team. It's been that right wing's been a problem position like all year and continues to be. And it feels like actually if Joelinton came in off the right, scored, be interesting to see whether he starts there in the next game and whether that's just a plug and allows us to kind of bring in some more midfield talent into our team. Kind of makes sense to me. And I think it's, even if it does break up the kind of the Willock Joelinton thing, it means Gordon can then go play on the left, which would be interesting. And I think he's definitely going under the radar at the moment. I know he scored for England just now, but yeah, that's the other consideration is like potentially keeping that front three in place. And do I just swap Johnson for Gordon, and kind of leave Palmer for now is kind of the other thing I'm thinking this week.
Is Isak captainable this week?
I mean, I've captained him a couple
So
of
many
times.
good options this week, but should he be in the conversation?
Yeah, he should be. Yeah, I think he's showing that kind of the assist potential as well. I think, he's still not scored a hat trick for us. So in terms of what is his ceiling, it's, until he proves otherwise, it's probably 2 returns, maybe 3 if he gets like a semi like or 2 assists, 1 goal. He's not scored the hat trick. So I mean that could just be an omen that it might be coming this weekend. I'm not sure.
I think the fact you're at home though, that makes make a difference as well. I mean, if I had him, I've kept him against us. If I'm
There was
honest.
did Haaland, Salah, Palmer all have outstanding fixtures this week,
Yeah,
didn't they? This is one actually where if Isak had this fixture maybe in 13 rather than now, I think we would genuinely be having that conversation. It doesn't
I
feel
mean,
necessary to get Isak in and captain him.
I
if,
mean, speaking as someone that's captained a few times, the only issue is the shot volume. I don't know, you may be able to tell me because I've been fucking ill the last few weeks and I haven't really paid attention to it. But I don't know whether his shot volume's really been going up that much. From what I've seen, it's still not at a level that if you're going to compare it to some of the other big hitters in terms of like opportunities per game, it's still lower than most. Is the only thing I'd hold against him. I don't know, I might be wrong. It's just from
If you're
what I've seen.
comparing to Salah and Haaland, then yes.
Yeah.
If you're comparing him to the other players in his bracket, the Watkins, Jacksons, etc., then yeah, he shows up fine. He's
Fine. Okay.
slightly under XG performance so far this season. 4 goals scored from an XG of 4.3. So yeah, I'm very keen to get him in. Do you own him, Chris?
no, no, I went Jackson. I think maybe the Liverpool game put me off a little bit the week after. I know that Newcastle at home, but then maybe 15 or 16. He looks. I think it's 16. They've
But
got good.
if you take the Liverpool fixture out though, the
Yes,
next 6 fixtures are great, I think, for him. So West Ham at home, Palace away, Liverpool at home, Brentford away, Leicester at home, Ipswich away.
Villa
That's
at home.
And then you can add Villa at home. And to be honest, United away, Tottenham away is difficult to call at this particular stage. But I wouldn't say they're bad games even for Isak. And then there's good fixtures after those two as well. Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home. So over a sustained, you could look at it short term, medium term, long
yeah,
term. It all looks good for Isak, however you look at it. Actually,
they've got the fixtures. I mean, Chelsea have got. And I think what influenced me was Chelsea having Leicester and Southampton in the next three.
and Chelsea's fixtures, by the way, in terms of comparing to Jackson, are also outstanding for an
Yeah,
extremely long time as well. One thing I would say about Isak playing Liverpool, obviously that's a midweek fixture. There might be some rotation for certain teams that week, and Isak will play against Liverpool. That's basically a
yeah,
certainty. So at least you know he'll play. Jackson might be a sub at Southampton. That's not better than Isak
yeah.
playing against Liverpool, is it? I don't think.
No, that's true. True.
But I wouldn't take Jackson out at the moment, Chris. For
No, I
Isak,
think
I don't think I'd do that.
no, no. I
Should
mean,
you
I've
take
got the
Watkins
trip.
out?
See,
No,
I've got.
I don't think I would either. Si, no,
Ugh. Haaland?
you're asking the wrong guy, man. Ask someone who
Mm,
don't support Tottenham.
Chris?
But
I've,
you do know that I prefer the structures without Haaland. I will add that.
Well, I
But
can tell the
yeah,
fact you're winning our
I'm,
if
Correspondents.
Romero and Van der Ven aren't available at the weekend, which might well be the case, then I think Haaland is the best captaincy this week.
the last
If
few
that's the case.
weeks, you feel like he's. I know you say this every week with Haaland, but he does look like he's due a haul. It's more. He's had like 3 or 4 shots on target. He's hit the post in 2 or 3 of the games. So the chances are there. Sometimes there's periods where he's only having, he's not involved and he's having 1 shot. And okay, fair enough. But I don't know.
By the way, if I look at Haaland's next 6 games, the most likely one for him to go off in my opinion, is this weekend. But I also accept I have negative bias about that.
I mean, Tottenham are strange, aren't they? Because they can play really well,
We
but
could
they
go there and
can.
win, mate. Yes,
Yeah.
we're odd. Welcome to my world. Anyway, enough about Tottenham. Yeah, I think it's a difficult one for you, Si. It sounds like it's a difficult one for you as well, Chris.
Mm.
I'm going to get there. I think by selling Trent is going to be part of that, and I'm going to obviously upgrade from Solanke to go there. It feels fairly straightforward to me, actually, even as part of a -4. Yeah, I want to get him in, and I want to stick with him whilst he stays fit. And I think importantly, what you already said, so he does appear to be over this toe issue, which I think is really important. He looks back to what he can be, I think, and he has done since that Chelsea League game. Last year it wasn't clear whether him or Anthony Gordon was going to be your talisman, Si. You mentioned Gordon. Is he right under the radar for you at the moment then?
I mean, yeah, he's I mean, you look at the points, FPL points tally, and it's like Barnes that's got scored 10 more points than him this year. I think it's coming. I think, yeah, it's for me, it's whether that keeping him on the left, I think everyone's pretty much convinced that that's his best position in terms of influencing the game and returning and scoring. I think it's the main thing. I think he's proved he can cross on the right for the cross he
What a
put in
cross.
against Arsenal. Yeah, phenomenal first time. But he scored for England, coming in off the left. That's his favourite position. He looks like he plays better when he starts there. He has. I wouldn't say he has like a strop on when he's playing from the right, but he just doesn't look like he's enjoying it or be able to impact the game as much. And so I think if Joelinton stays on the right, he plays on the left. I think Willock's been like phenomenal the last couple of games. It looks like he's really back on it. At the moment, like you can't argue with Tonali not starting games. Longstaff's come back in and we're on a winning streak, so I expect that to continue. Tonali's played well off the bench. And Howe likes to kind of keep things quite consistent if we're winning. So yeah, I would say if you're in a situation like me and you can't get to Isak, then Gordon is under the radar 7-2. I think he's around about the price that he should be in FPL. And, he won't be on penalties while Isak's on the pitch, but, you'd expect him to, over this run, to be getting opportunities to win those penalties. So,
Yeah, I don't really see anyone speaking about him at the moment. I think it's because people want to invest in Isak. Maybe don't want to end up in a position like the Liverpool game in 14 and have double offensive. You say Howe wants to kind of stick if something's going well, but obviously in the Arsenal game, you reverted to this Willock Joelinton kind of left-sided where they kept alternating position, worked so well for you in the season. You finished in the top four, but then at Forest, you changed during the game to put Joelinton on the right-hand side, and that was then obviously successful coming back from a losing position. So what do we think is next here? Because basically you've done two different things and they've both been successful over the last couple. I realize one is against Arsenal.
I think, well, if Kudos is suspended, there's no need to have that. It works, but there's certain advantages to having the Willock Joelinton tandem on the left, sitting in front of Hall. And defensively, we don't need that extra cover in this game. So yeah, he could go back to that. I personally think he'll play Gordon on the left and he'll try Joelinton from the start in the front three on the right.
Okay.
And Tonali's played twice for Italy. He'll start on the bench, so he'll be basically the team that kind of inspired the comeback against Forest.
Joelinton obviously scored from that position on the right. Lovely goal at the City ground. Should we be looking at that at 6 million? Or do we need confirmation that he's going to play there more often before we look?
His goal scoring threat kind of flitters throughout the season, and it's the yellow cards as well. That's always a bit of an issue with him. How many is he on now? This point. Let me
I
have
would
a
have
look.
to check to tell you the truth. So
I
I
will
think he's on
check for you. Sounds
three,
about on
four. He's
track.
one from the ban, actually. He's from
Yeah. So
four.
the issue with him is it's kind of you're getting a lot of twos. You're getting a lot of twos, and then a 10 will pop up. And he's got two double figure hauls this season, first game of the season, where he was incredible now. And he hasn't been brilliant throughout the season. He has dipped in a couple of games, particularly the away games. He's kind of gone missing a bit. But well, when he's kind of like on form, and I think if he's to start the game from the front three, he almost has like a slightly different mentality towards him. And I think for Isak as well, having seen like how he's performed for like Sweden during this international break, just having someone that's a bit more physically like able to take some of the burden off him and almost kind of, you put Joelinton on the right, he can play in that sort of central position, gives Isak more like license to roam. Gordon can come in off the left, play up top, gives Isak, range to go out on the left and just cause like havoc. And I think we still haven't really seen the best of Isak because we haven't, he's playing at the top of a front three, and I still maintain I don't think that's his best position.
What
You
is
know,
it?
I'd say it's a number 10 behind central striker, but we've barely seen like him and Wilson play together, but when they have, they've looked pretty good. And that was before Gordon kind of really made that left wing position his own, so he was drifting off to the left quite a lot. But yeah, I think that or more of a kind of like habit style, you can see why Arsenal are interested in him because he can kind of drop in during a game and just kind of dictate stuff from midfield. He's such a good footballer. He's honestly, he's incredible, but it's whether we're getting the best out of him playing him at like as a kind of number 9 at the moment, which he can do. I just personally don't think it's his best position.
Should we factor Callum Wilson into our thinking here?
No, not seen him all
I
year.
don't mean to select him for fancy. I just mean in relation to the Isak thinking.
No, no, I can't. I think it's been so long since he's been fit, and he's getting weird like pectoral injuries that keep him out, and rib injuries and back in. I just think his kind of like, unfortunately, I think his time at like the top level is probably like near enough over. We'll look to offload him. I think he wanted to leave in January, and we just weren't in a position to do that.
He'd get in your team, wouldn't he, Chris?
Backup, so.
Pretty weird. Him and Antonio can do their podcast and play together and talk about it.
Could do it on a pitch, mate.
You
can argue about celebrations. That's positive to hear for Isak for fantasy side. If you're saying Wilson isn't too much of a threat, as we had,
he might start one game like randomly, like
yeah, of course,
or like a week.
Yeah, but I even think that. I mean, you've got League Cup quarter final against Brentford, right? The fans up there will go nuts if you lose it, wouldn't they? Like if Hull picks a rotated team and you get beat by Brentford, it's not going to go down well, is it?
No, and he knows
at this stage.
He's lost all of his support really at the top end of the club, so he's under pressure to win something now. And League Cup looks like our best bet. I'm not sure we'll hit the top 4, maybe top 5 this season in the league, but yeah, I think Cups is kind of where our focus should be.
Well, while you're in a bit of momentum, mate, good results against Arsenal and Forest is the opportunity to carry this forward, I think, in December. There's some really good fixtures coming up. Chris, I earmarked in pre-season about buying Jarrod Bowen for Bryan Mbeumo in game week 14.
I think Bowen in isolation, I think Bowen would be probably one of the few players out of the squad that you could pick. Team's not playing well, so he's not exactly getting loads of chances, and without Kudos as well,
Kudos is back in full team as well.
Yeah, he'll be back for then. Yeah, so that will help it. That will certainly help him. Yeah, I mean he's reliable. He plays 90 minutes. He plays every game. He don't give up. He's always going to get a chance. He seems to be, confident wise. He's all right. But would you take out on Bruno? That's the thing. He's scoring and he's on penalties, isn't he?
You've got a combination of their fixtures get awful from game week 14, and you've got that 5-game stretch at the same time that looks good. And I don't think many people will go there because of how you've been your form. I think we could probably come to the conclusion now that Bowen probably won't go off mad against Newcastle and Arsenal respectively before we get there. So it won't be a recency bias of it's unlikely to be that, Bowen's done this, that, and the other. So it'll just be a quiet one. Maybe to go there, dive in, even if it's just for the first 2, Leicester and Wolves, and then even reassess into 16, where, say, for example, if it's not worked, going, well, I'll have Gordon against Leicester and Ipswich then at that point, rather than buy Gordon when he's playing Liverpool.
Yeah, you can do a bit of a hokey-cokey, as it were, can't you? You haven't got to have Bruno, you can bring someone else in instead. I mean, he would be the player that I would say if you were going to pick an attacking player. He's the most reliable. Kudos, I know you've got, obviously he scored a couple of goals, but he's so inconsistent at the moment. Obviously hasn't played for 5 games, so argument he's going to be fresh, but it's also the other argument he's going to be rusty.
I've got 2 players. I've got Mbeumo to Bowen, feels like basically same sort of value, fine. And Garnacho to Kudos, same sort of value, could work for me as well. Garnacho looks like he's going to be a problem for me, I should imagine. And United's fixtures get tougher from, guess what, game week 14. Yeah. Either of these moves could be on the table for me, Chris.
I mean, Garnacho, I'd say you'd obviously have to see what United are like and how he's playing. But I think, Bowen is the more... You're not going to go badly wrong with Bowen because he's going to play the whole game and he's going to have a chance, 1 or 2 chances, and like you say, he's not going to go off, but there's not going to be a massive points differential. in
No,
those
and
games.
you're going to have obviously played this long period from the Tottenham game up till that game when you go to Leicester, where obviously you've been without Kudos. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be any point even I think looking at Bowen kind of recently. You just right, is Kudos going to give this whole thing an uplift? And I guess other people also think, well, if you do change manager as well, bounce.
Yeah.
So there is a temptation, I think, with those two players once game week 14 comes around.
So there is an argument you could say that you're in. He could put Kudos on the right because Kudos is better on the right. He scores certainly last season. He scored most of his goals from there. I know he did score one off the left, and the other one he was kind of drifting into the centre more. And then you could move Bowen into the centre, especially why we haven't got an out and out forward because no one's really kind of sort of nailed that position. Antonio's not nailed it. Ings isn't going to play 90 minutes, so you could see Bowen's a bit of a you can't really lose with him because either way he plays on the right. If he doesn't play on the right, he's going to play up front. So whichever one he does, he's going to have chances to score. And then if that did happen with Bowen, then that would I would say put Kudos in a higher status if he moved on to the right.
He's also a 90-minute man.
Yeah,
which is very useful coming into a period of congested fixtures. You've got no doubt from that perspective. He's got 6 attacking returns from 11 games in a team that's frankly been pretty piss poor so far. But you do have them good fixtures from game week 14. I think there'll be a few who be tempted, particularly by Bowen. I think Kudos will be completely out of people's minds, but it might even be one that works for me, Chris. Just to go, this Garnacho problem needs fixing. I'll punt Kudos for a couple of weeks here.
I think I mean certainly, let's say whatever happens in the next 2 games, if a new manager came in, it would be worth the punt. I think because there's always the chance that someone's going to come in, and that seems like an obvious move. You're playing Kudos in a position which he doesn't like the left. He clearly doesn't like it. So if you put him in a position that he likes, Bowen will play wherever you tell him to play. He'll thrive in either position. So yeah, you could do.
I think as well, as said earlier, he let himself down
Yeah,
in the game against my team with the red card, but he played well. He didn't look like a player I'd look at and go, not putting the effort. In fact, my comment on the Monday podcast afterwards, he won't be playing for West Ham next year because he's a very good footballer. It's in his interest when he comes back to hit the ground running if he wants to get that move next summer. I suspect he
yeah.
probably will. Talk to me about Paqueta. What's the
Um,
situation?
and it's not really hearing too much, really. Obviously, it's all the betting thing, so there's a lot of kind of things going on in the backgrounds, and the FA keep asking for other information, or there's this thing with his phone and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like he's going to get done by it, but whether or not they can prove it, I don't know. But I don't know if they even have to have the burden of proof. But he's not playing. He's just doesn't. He's not putting the effort in. He's not contributing attacking wise. So he's almost like a bit of a liability, which seems crazy because he's such a good player. But it's almost an argument to take him out. But then if you
That's
got
your
to
whole
bring in,
creativity gone, though, isn't it? Like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
hoping he's going to turn it on.
yeah, yeah. But whether it's he doesn't want to be there because obviously he was well documented. He was linked with Man City. That's kind of gone now. There is an element. He is that sort of player where if he doesn't want to be there, but he's not. Whether it's on purpose or just psychologically, he's not there. He's just so he's a hindrance more than a help at the moment because he has got the legs. He can cover the ground in midfield, but we were saying before, but that is our biggest problem is our central midfield. We've got no one who can actually cover the ground and run, and probably arguably the only player who can at the moment is Alvarez, and if he's either injured or getting sent off.
He should be available for the game at Newcastle. Do you see the midfield two being Alvarez and Rodriguez at Newcastle, or would you see Souček filling one of them?
I think Souček will keep getting games, but he doesn't get the full game. He's either going to come basically whatever happens, he'll come on for 45 minutes probably because if he starts, then he'll get taken off because it's all going wrong. And if he doesn't start, he'll get brought on because it's all going wrong. So And I've even and
I've got this feeling Newcastle won't might win Monday. I can't think why.
yeah, I can't think why. But Rodriguez, he's even there's whether you have to take what you hear with a pinch of salt in the press, but talks of him, wanting to go back to Betis. He's not happy with the move, and I guess for him, he's probably been a bit of a scapegoat and being blamed for a lot of stuff. But he's not the player to put in there to cover the midfield and run around like a 20-year-old, and he's not that sort of player anyway. So yeah, that doesn't bode well either when you. But then when things are going badly, the managers, dead man walking, as I said earlier, it's easy for players to use that as an excuse and just not perform.
Would you like to see Somerville in the team?
Yeah, I think he's done. He's getting better. It's consistency, I think, but he's certainly a player who puts the effort in. I mean, the other game where he tracked back and put in that block in front of goal. I think that you've got to have players like that. That rubs off on other players if you've got someone doing that, and it lifts the crowd as well. So I think he deserves a start, and then obviously you've got Kudos coming back. So, but he is naturally a left-sided player, so it would seem it wouldn't be a bad thing.
When you think about it on paper, and you think Somerville left, Kudos right, Bowen up front, Paqueta and 10. That sounds fun, mate.
Yeah, that seems like the obvious move, and I don't know why. I don't know why he keeps persisting with Antonio. I mean, I know there was the
profile of player that can take the pressure off for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think he does. That's part of the problem.
No, Sush says that as well.
He did. That was his profile, but I don't think he's got the physical capabilities to do it. He doesn't dominate. He tends to get dominated more than he does dominate centre backs. So okay. Yes, yeah.
So a statement for you. Laugh, agree or disagree. Sean Longstaff is Newcastle's most important player.
I'm not going to laugh at it. I will disagree.
Go on. Does he enable better out of everybody else in that team?
It certainly appears that way. It's just hard to quantify when you watch him.
You think he's average, but the team seems to function much better when he plays.
There are certain games where I would pick him without question, and there are certain games, even if we're on a mad winning streak, where I would not. And West Ham at home is not a game that I would pick him to play in. But off the back of an international break, I think he will start. Yeah, but I know the stats around like games that we've won where he's been in the team, and yeah, he is effectual and he does what Howe tells him to do. But it's not like he's a monster in any kind of category of the game. He's not like putting in like thunderous tackles or like ball retention or passing or like anything. Occasionally he'll get into the box and score a few goals. But yeah, it's just like he's a bit of an enigma, Sean Longstaff. I think there's also the contractual issue as well. Is I don't know if it's in our hands or he's got the option to extend it an extra year, and that's not been sorted yet. So I think while that contractual situation is kind of against us, and we putting him in the team and trying to get him to sign at least a 1-year extension so we can try and hopefully sell him in the summer, I think makes sense. But yeah, good player. It's like decent Premier League player, but shouldn't be like in our starting 11 for where we want to get to. And he just needs to find a way to get Tonali and Bruno working together. I think we haven't seen the best of those two yet.
Well, that's it with Longstaff, isn't it? Gimmer seems to play better with him.
I mean, yeah, the record would like suggest that. But I think you need to, with players of the quality of Tonali and Bruno, you need to get them like repetition and playing together, and that will come. But yeah, it's kind of up to Harry to figure that out. You can't have someone with like Tonali's ability not starting.
No, I get it. So I guess from your perspective, you go, right, okay, this has worked, but there's an opportunity here with a fragile West Ham next. Put Tonali back in the team to get him accustomed to some of these forthcoming fixtures. When you play Liverpool, play Longstaff. Straight afterwards, put Tonali back in the team. Is that kind of where you're at with that?
That's how I would treat it. Yeah, like you saw Tonali when he came out from his ban, he went off and played like 180 minutes for Italy, like no problem, and then came back and was eased back in. Howe will probably take the view that he's played a lot of football over the international break, and Longstaff hasn't done anything to come out of the team, and Longstaff will probably start. But yeah, to your point, I would pick the team based on, and we've got enough quality players that you should be able to pick a team based on opposition and tactics. But Howe's kind of he only really does that, I think, at home for the big teams, right, as opposed to like every opponent.
Okay. Dan Burn is suspended for the game on Monday night. Is that any concern?
No, I think Kelly is like again, like depending on who the opposition is, like I think he's a more competent centre back for what we need at home. He's better on the ball, he's got more pace, and I think that's the issue. Shah's been a bit shaky all season. He's had some good games, some bad games. Him and Ben are like adequate. So I don't. This is interesting with the Antonio comp. I think like Burn probably would have been a good person to have playing against him if he's going to start up front. But like yeah, I think Kelly has the attributes to be a better fit for these type of games at home where we're going to play a bit of a higher line and look for like ball retention and have the option to like ping stuff because both of our centre backs that are playing on Monday will be able to hit that diagonal ball to the opposite wing, and I think that's probably where Howe's going to kind of look to try and exploit West Ham a bit.
Okay. So Burn's obviously missing out through 5 yellow cards. Fabian Schär is on 4. And inevitably, I think probably will miss a game over this forthcoming period at some stage. When he does Lewis Hall miss that game as well, Si?
It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem. Like, is Alex Murphy ready to step in? Kraft is injured and looks like he's going to be out for that period of time where we would need him to like step in. And then you're kind of like looking around and thinking like, who else is going to play there? Like, you got to think it's going to probably be like two left footers. So
We can
is
play
Hall going
Kelly
to
and
come
Burn
out?
for one game. I guess it depends what it is as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like if it's Leicester at home, probably just Kelly and Burn, right?
Yeah, I think it's we've only really got like three centre backs fit at the moment, and if one of them's suspended or two of them are, yeah, it would be Kelly and Burn, which would be odd. You'd imagine Kelly would play on the right, I assume. It feels like he's probably got more ability to do that. But yeah, Hall is, I said at the start of the season he'd be in the England team, and I think that's just kind
And
of
he
come
did
to
well, mate.
yeah. I didn't watch it. I watched the
Oh,
highlights
he
of
did
it.
well, as did Tino Livramento as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
saw
saw
the
that.
cross that he put in that ended up in Gordon's sort of like, yeah, it's nice to see
It's
the
going
three
nowhere
boys.
near him, in fairness, but
Yeah, there was that funny picture of the three of them all celebrating, and then Mark Gahey was just behind the new. I don't know if the Newcastle admin did that on purpose or
okay.
not. Quite funny.
So no, in seriousness, when that suspension comes for Share, is there a chance that Lewis Hall doesn't play as part of that? Because that's the link that people have found from Hall not playing those games earlier in the season, right?
Yeah, that was my theory. I think it felt like it's actually
It's
kind of been
it's
pretty
your
true.
fault, mate. So yeah.
Um, well, whatever. I said he would be a good pick, and he would play well enough to get an England call up, and that's kind of proved to be the case. I think it's a little bit hyperbolic. The kind of the I know he's gone up in price as well. Like people are steaming into him. I still until Botman's back, I still don't really trust us to like keep clean sheets. I think we're for the most part like a concede one goal a game type team, particularly in these games where we haven't got like a rear guards like match kind of like approach to the game, should I say, like against Arsenal. If you look at the run of games we've got coming up, we'll be expected to beat these teams, and it's those kind of games I think where we'll
You're a
likely
bit
like
more vulnerable, ironically, is what you're
yeah,
saying, basically.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I think
Get
he's a
it.
good pick. But it's really like for Hall, if we're going to get onto talking about him as a pick, if you look at our fixtures like at the other side of January onwards, like all of our home games are like, yeah, he's a stonewall pick when you've got the likes of, let me just click on it. Excuse me. Yeah, there's like a run of like 10 games where you could like realistically put Hall in, but like to pick him and play him now feels like slightly suspect. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet against West Ham. We might do. And that's probably the best of it, I'd say, for like the next 4 or 5 weeks. And then until you come into like a really like strong run of home games, which is what you got Leicester at home. You pick him to play in that. Villa at home, probably not. Wolves at home, yes. Bournemouth at home, yes. Fulham at home, probably.
And
Forest
there's
at home.
Southampton away in between those two home games as well.
Yeah, which is a decent one. But it's really for me like if you get him in now, I'd say like West Ham game, yeah, play him, and then the next three, I don't really see us keeping a clean sheet at Palace, Liverpool, Brentford, and then after that, it's if you can find a good rotation, he's like a really good pick. So if I do get him in, I'll probably play him this week and then try and like look to kind of bury him, I think, for a few weeks. But when Botman comes back in January, I think that's going to be the key to our defense, kind of stepping up a gear.
If you were on wildcard, do you think you put him in? That's Hull.
I'd put him in. Yeah, I'd definitely as a in within
Okay.
the five. Who else are you looking at? You've got Mikalenko, who's coming off good fixtures. Like he's an easier, better pick.
I guess at the moment, Brighton alternatives: Van Heck, Luca Dean, Milos Kerkez, Eight Nori, obviously. There's a few. There are alternatives. I wouldn't say it's definitively, or it's got to be Lewis Hall at that value. It's possibly going to be a no for me, actually. I might go Joachim Anderson rather than Lewis Hall. And it's a longer term view, ironically, even though you spoke about Lewis Hall as a longer term view. Fulham's fixtures get good when Wolves get bad. So it feels like play Anderson this week, Eight Nori carry me, and then Anderson on the other side a little bit. But I haven't ruled out Lewis Hall. I might need the 0.1, which is
Mm.
part why. I wouldn't specifically pick Anderson over Hall. I might need the 0.1. I might not, in which case I'm possibly comparing him with, throw another name in there, like Levi Colwell, for example, at 0.5 more. Hall's not that exciting, is it? He's like, oh yeah, it's left back, but there isn't going to be a lot there from attacking returns, is there?
Um, he looked like he was showing that in pre-season. No, I'd say like he's more of your kind of like inverting, kind of drives the ball forward. Will get the occasional assist, takes occasional set pieces, but not ever like the first to like for corners or free kicks. I think he'll grow into that. You got to remember he's still like very young. I think he's got the potential. And then yeah, it'll be like systems based. So at the moment, I'd say like, no, you're not really getting him for attacking returns. He could pop up with the odd one. And like, yeah, from a clean sheet. It's a shame actually that Anderson and Hall aren't alternating with home fixtures because they would be like a great tandem. They're pretty much playing the same teams, like all the bottom half teams at home in the next 2 to 3 months. So yeah, I'd get him in, but as a rotation and definitely not like someone that you're looking to kind of play every week. No.
Okay. But he's secure in his position in the team now, in your opinion.
Yeah, yeah, he is. The only
Okay.
thing that will kind of count against him is like volume of games and fatigue if that starts to show. But he used to really struggle to get anywhere near 90 minutes, and he's kind of improved that aspect of it. His sort of game management in terms of his own stamina has improved, and it's like those little things I think that can kind of have shown and proved why he's like worthy of an England call up.
Okay. Any reason to pick Livramento over him for fantasy?
I wouldn't. While Trippier's at the club, I wouldn't. I just think he's too good a player and too big a profile and personality to not get minutes. So I think when he's back, there will be a bit more rotation on that side. And I don't think where Hall's got to now. I don't think Tino's like an automatic. Will go out and play on the left.
Okay.
Um,
That answers the next question. I don't need to answer that. Ask that one then. Good. Thank you. Chris, Fabianski. How many more games are you going to play in a row, mate?
Um, at the moment, I
Because
don't.
you remember, not this summer, but the summer before, you were the one who told us all that Areola was going to play in goal, and no one agreed with you, mate. So I assume you'll get it right again, mate. No pressure.
No pressure. I don't see why he'd be dropped. I mean, Aviola's he's there's been a few goals where you wouldn't say they were out and out mistakes, but they were ones that you felt that he should have saved, and there was a few too many of those. Um, Fabianski, I mean, from a playing point of view, he does slow things down a little bit. He doesn't distribute the ball quickly enough at times. But I don't think he'd drop him. I don't see any reason. He's not really been at fault for any of the goals directly. Maybe one he could have done better at, but he's obviously got back in the side, so I think that will continue for the time being.
You just feel inevitable that Areola will go back in at some stage, though. Would that be fair?
It does, but yeah, I just don't know when because it wasn't. If he'd got injured, then you'd say, okay, Aviona be coming back in, but he's dropped him, so it's obviously dropped him for a reason. So whether or not it's confidence, whatever it is, I think he was carrying a few. niggling injuries, which weren't maybe enough to keep him out, but might have been impacting on performance. So there's always that danger that he's gonna come back in. But yeah, I mean, I've got Fabianski at the moment, but it's obviously as a 4.0, it's not terrible.
Who's your other keeper out of interest?
I've got Raya, so obviously I'm
Who
not going
did
to
you play last
Fabianski.
week?
I actually played Fabianski.
Yeah, so did I.
We
All three
all
of us
did.
did.
You're blinded.
Yeah.
Fuck Arsenal. Yeah, yeah. What's it? Once shy? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Once was enough here, though. That's it.
Yeah.
One game, the decision was based on Everton not doing that again. Knowing, I think even when you play, just looking at the fixtures, Leicester away and Wolves at home, I think I'd still probably pick Raya United at home and Fulham away, respectively, rather than try and do that again. I think.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason
Unless Wolves are on the floor, maybe when you play Wolves at home, maybe.
I mean, we didn't keep a clean sheet because we played really well and Fabianski pulled off some amazing saves. It was basically Everton couldn't score and that was it. So that was the story of the clean sheet, really.
He's a definite pick if you're on wildcard, though, isn't he? As your second choice goalkeeper, I don't know why you don't get at the moment.
I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, he's relevant until he isn't, and he's not playing badly to warrant being dropped. So
yeah, I wouldn't be putting him in and thinking I'm going to rotate him and use him in this game, but I'll just be thinking, all right, I'm getting a regular first choice goalkeeper, and that's going to be my second. That would be my take. And whilst he's available, he's a luxury. If it falls, that maybe you can use it. But I do suspect that eventually Areola will go back in goal. And obviously, unfortunately, Chris, if you did change manager, that could obviously happen very quickly.
Yeah, that could too. Yeah,
someone else would obviously prefer him. I guess with Fabianski in mind and the way you're playing, there's no reason to consider any of these defenders, is there? Like Todibo at 4.3 or anything?
No, not really. I mean, the only sort of point of interest would be with Emerson was in the last game he was taking quite a few of the corners, even on the same side as Bowen. But yeah, I mean, unless you want to kill your overall rank, don't put a West Ham defender in.
Noted, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Let's do correct score predictions before we finish. Si.
3-1 Newcastle.
Chris.
I'm going to be optimistic and say 2-0 Newcastle. That's been me being optimistic.
Chris, there isn't a single listener or viewer that thought you meant 2-0 to West Ham, mate. I promise you. No one was buying that.
That pause is so good.
I just did the pause, but no. I couldn't convince myself, let alone anyone else.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned for you here, Chris. I think it might be more.
I could quite easily be. It wouldn't surprise me.
I hope for your sake, listen, anyone can go under at Newcastle if it's going badly, but I hope it doesn't get to something where there is a bit of a down in tools and stuff. I think it could end quite badly, unfortunately, mate. Yes, I fully intend to buy Alexander Isak this week, so I can't really think of a reason not to until we find out that he hasn't. Oh, look, Sweden are 2-0 up at the time of recording. He hasn't even scored. He's useless. I might not bother, so I will as long as he makes it through that unscathed.
Has Haaland scored yet?
Haaland playing tonight. It's half hour gone. Are they playing Norway? This is shit content, isn't it? They're not even playing, Si. Just maybe look. No, he hasn't scored. So he's got the same as Isak tonight at this moment. Si, anything you want to plug before we finish?
I was going to join Beats B ahead of the podcast I thought we were doing tomorrow, but I haven't had time seeing as we recorded tonight. So maybe you might find me on that in the next few days if I sign up to it. Or
do join us over there on Blue Sky. Chris, anything you want to plug, mate?
No, all good. Thanks.
Good stuff. Thank you. I'll be streaming 2:00 scheduled for tomorrow afternoon with James. It will be a deadline stream on YouTube on Saturday morning as well, ahead of my travels to Manchester. Next week's Clash of Correspondents is probably going to be on Tuesday, but to be confirmed. But I can tell you it will be Manchester United versus Everton with Gary Robinson and Sean Norton. Just sees me say thanks very much to Sire and to Chris. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man child.